to NorthWest Digital News. I'm Kevin Hunter with Kyle Torgerson in studio. Thanks to everybody, by the way, who joined us for our special broadcast that we had just yesterday off of Silver Lake out in the Toutle area. Anyway, it is hot outside, Kyle.
It is too hot.
It has been hot and too hot. So share with us just how hot it is outside.
Well, just how hot. It's going to be a high of 94 and a low of 56 today. For the rest of the week.
For this area, that's really hot.
Yeah, for this area, that is too hot. I am melting. More on that later. But tomorrow's also going to be 93, and then we're dropping back down to 80, and then Saturday it's going to rain. But after that, it's going to start heading back up to the 90s.
The heat comes back next Monday, 94 and sunny. Next Tuesday, 92 and sunny. It's been pretty crazy. You know what's interesting is when you talk about these high heat conditions is that it's not only been hot here, but been hot in many different areas of the country. And I remember years ago in the late 80s, early 90s, when I was working for a company by the name of Rollerblade, for people who remember the inline skate business. When people talking about it back then and saying that potentially that market was a fad that would at some point, evaporate, I guess you could kind of say it was a bit of a fad, because how many people do you see rollerblading today?
In high school, I saw 2 guys do it once.
2 guys do it once.
That's about it.
Rollerblading, that is. Yeah, let's not get that confused. Yeah, so anyway, I remember though getting skates back to quality control that were from various areas around the country. Somebody put their skates in their back window of their vehicle or their truck or whatever, and I'm not kidding you, we would actually see the entire plastic cuff of the boot melted. And I'm like, are you sure you didn't hit this with a propane torch or something? It's like, no, they actually melted sitting in somebody's window in direct sunlight. So here's kind of a, along the lines of it being hot, how hot is it exactly in other areas of the country? Well, here's a picture sent to us by Bruce Roulette, who lives in Tucson, Arizona. These are a couple of plastic cups. Now, you know what? We should have warned people that we're going to show.
Oh, sorry. Here,
yep, go back.
To all the people in California and I think Seattle, we're about to show plastic straws.
We did for a second. Sorry, we didn't warn you in advance. But
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so here's some pictures involving plastic straws. Go ahead and pop it back on the screen. There you go. So hopefully we didn't trigger anybody by showing plastic straws before we warned you. These are not assault straws, or they're just regular old drinking straws.
Semi-salt, high capacity plastic straws.
Yes. Yes. So anyways, you can see these plastic containers didn't stand up to the heat very well there in Tucson. Now we have a little snapshot of what the temperatures have been like down in Arizona, in Tucson area. Did you get a chance to bring that down? Yeah, let's throw that on the screen. Yeah, so you see 11 o'clock this morning was already 89 degrees. They're going to shoot up to the 98, 99, probably crack 100 today. And then cool off to a balmy 80 tonight. So, yeah, that's what they're dealing with down there in the southern end of the United States. So thanks for sharing, posting that picture, Bruce. That was awesome. And evidence that when it gets warm enough, things melt. Well, it's funny is there's a location over, this is London, correct?
Yeah, this is London.
Okay, so there's a place in London where not only is it warm, but the architects designed this really nifty building, and it's got a curved glass face on one side. Well, you got to see what it does to the street with the sun reflecting off the side of the wall. So go ahead and roll that video.
Hello and welcome to the Walkie-Talkie building in central London. Or rather, should I say the Walkie-Scorchy as it's been nicknamed. It's an amazing glass structure on Eastcheap. And because of the weird shape of the building, the light has been reflected, and yesterday it was recorded at 70 degrees Celsius. Or if you think in Fahrenheit, that's 158 degrees, considerably hotter than Death Valley. So we're going to see if we can fry an egg. Come back later to see how we get on.
It has been ridiculously hot, like being in the south of France.
That sounds quite pleasant to me.
No, actually no, probably Marrakesh on its hottest day when all you can do is stay in the pool. And we don't have any pools here, obviously.
And how did the heat affect you?
Well, I was standing outside yesterday doing lunch and my shoes were like almost melting. They were that hot. I had to come out of the sun.
After parts for Jaguar were melted last week, parking bays have been suspended here. The developers of 20 Eastcheap say they're working on a long-term solution, but for now, a lot of the businesses are complaining they are being seriously affected. The barber shop there had its carpet scorched with actually smoke coming off it yesterday, and the Vietnamese cafe there, one of its floor tiles popped and broke just in front of people's eyes yesterday.
The tile outside, it's cracked and went off. We're planning to put an umbrella, yeah, so the sun doesn't come directly into the building.
And you like the building?
Yes, I love the building. I love this place. We always want more residents in this area. It's good for business and it's fun. It's always nice to live in a place with more people.
It's quite an overcast day, but the power of the few sun rays bouncing off that building is making me sweat uncontrollably. And according to a professional meteorologist who's got a thermometer out there, it is now over 50 degrees Celsius. This is really very, very hot. And it's casting the most astonishing light. I've got shadows both here and here. And I can feel the back of my head burning right now.
I think it looks amazing actually. It's good construction, looks really, it's very pleasing to the eye, it looks really nice. But, I walked out there the other day and the light intensity on the pavement and the road is just immense. And obviously read the paper this morning about the car that got melted, so it's quite interesting. That's why we've come up here to have a little look at what's going on.
Back to our experiment. Was an egg cooked yesterday from the glare of the building? Absolutely. Was it mine? Not exactly. But I've been standing underneath 20 Eastcheap just for a few moments and I am in a muck sweat. It is very hot and it's casting the most astonishing shadows on the pavement.
So go ahead and take that off.
No, now they're in London, right? And people in London, I'm pretty sure they like Doctor Who, and I'm a big fan of Doctor Who. And everyone knows if you have multiple shadows, it's too late for you. And if you don't understand that reference, watch Doctor Who. It's a great show. Pretty good. It's the one I'm talking about. It's in the library, and no one knows where everyone went in the library. It's pretty cool. Really great episode. But if you have 4 shadows, you're dead. Anyways,
that guy still looked alive though, standing there with multiple shadows.
I felt kind of bad for the people they interviewed because they did it under the building, not like to the side of it. They did it immediately under it.
Yeah, so you notice that was one of those shots was during the early part of the day. He said it was 50 degrees Celsius already, so that's around 120 some degrees Fahrenheit already right there.
I think the max they said was 150 degrees Fahrenheit.
159, I think he said. Yeah, that's plenty hot. It's kind of funny when architects and people put up structures like that and don't think about the curved glass front and how reflected sunlight could create that kind of heat. But pretty intense. Well, we have high heat conditions right now, actually all around the country. So let's share with people a few precautions you might want to make during high heat conditions. These actually were things they taught us a lot in the military as well, because when it gets to be hot outside, you kind of forget sometimes that you're sweating because moisture evaporates off you very rapidly. So in places where, like the picture we saw from Tucson, Arizona, people down there actually need to be aware of the fact that they need to drink more liquids and not just water. I was actually with a soldier who suffered permanent liver and kidney damage from heat stroke in high heat conditions. And it wasn't because he wasn't drinking enough water. He actually didn't consume appropriate amounts of food and stuff like that as well, because If you're just drinking water nonstop all day long, you can actually create a electrolyte imbalance, which can be just as big a problem as being dehydrated. So a couple things that show up here on what to do during extreme heat. Of course, don't leave your children or pets alone in a closed vehicle. What kind of a knucklehead has to be told this?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
Be really surprised. Slow down and avoid strenuous activity, and in particular, activity outside in direct sunlight. Drink plenty of water, as I said here, even if you're not thirsty. Avoid alcoholic beverages and liquids high in sugar or caffeine. Why might you want to do that, Kyle?
I'm pretty sure everything else other than water dehydrates you.
It actually pushes liquids out of your cells. So they're what are called thermogenics, and they push. So don't be drinking, tanking up on those energy drinks either, because they do the exact same thing. They push liquid out of the cells of the body and will dehydrate you. So stay indoors as much as possible. Limit your exposure to the sun. Don't leave your pets outside for extended periods of time in your yards or wherever. Make sure that they get into the shade too. And then, of course, stay hydrated. So avoid that heat.
Also, pavement is pretty hot. So when you walk your dog, watch out for that. You don't want to burn their paws. that is a thing.
That's exactly right. It gets very, very hot. So, all right. Thanks again to Bruce for sharing that picture. We are actually already thinking about the heat situation we had here. And we said, you know what? We got to talk about the heat. And what a great photo. So thanks, Bruce Roulette, for your picture on Facebook today. We got another story I want to dig into here just a little bit. And want to do this for two things. Actually, before we do this, I had one other part of this heat around the country I wanted to share. Where's this story about the trim melting off my car, this Honda? Go ahead and put this one up. This is actually from the eastern coast, I believe. Anyway, this person writes in and says, why is my trim melting off of my vehicle? So these were the plastic panels on the passenger side doors and the side view mirror. They were melting and bubbling in the heat. Yes, trim on cars can actually melt off. You were sharing a picture of a Jaguar. It was actually near this place in London in which the trim, like around the windows of the vehicle. So it wasn't even inside the vehicle. It was the outside trim melted off of the vehicle. You got a shot of that to show people real quick?
I will. I will find just that after.
He'll find that.
I will find that.
He'll find that shot. So anyway, yeah, a lot of damage can be done to your vehicle and other things outdoors when the temperatures get up there. And don't underestimate direct sunlight and the damage that it can do. So Kyle's going to show this picture of this Jaguar parked in London. Yeah, here it is, near the what they're calling the walkie-talkie skyscraper, which they're calling
they nicknamed it the Walkie Scorchy.
The Walkie Scorchy tower. So take a look at this trim on the vehicle. This is actually the behind the back passenger window. So this is the back window cover of the Jaguar. It's all melted. That's incredible.
Who thought this building would be a good idea? Also,
apparently they didn't know that bent glass is how you make like optical lenses or like magnifying glasses. And you know, when you take sunlight and put it through a magnifying glass, you know what happens on the other side? It gets very hot. So
just to show you what the building looks like, that's what it looks like.
Yes.
Who thought this would be a good idea? But also, the Vietnamese cafe. Mm-hmm. They had a pretty good attitude about it. They're actually happy about the building because it'd bring more customers in. They're pretty happy about it.
Brings people in to come see the building, but it did get hot enough out in front of the restaurant that one of the ceramic tiles just basically exploded off the floor.
Started popping and...
Yeah, kind of nice. So, all right. So let's move on to this other story. Enough about the hot heat around the country and everything melting and scorching and whatever. So stay out of the heat, people.
Also, if you're on Twitch, if you're on Twitch, leave a follow. We stream now Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday, yes. And to give people a heads up, tomorrow will be a health show with Jody Summers. Next week on Thursday, we'll feature Dr. Mark Wheaton and Ernest Huda Jr. Dr. Mark does prolotherapy and also a new practice in stem cell therapy. And it's amazing all the different things that these two guys do together in clinic, and all the people they've helped with a number of health issues, particularly as it pertains to structural, your frame, your skeleton, muscular issues, all that kind of stuff. So Ernest and Dr. Mark will be joining us a week from Thursday and talking about some of the exciting developments in stem cell therapy too.
Stem cells pretty exciting.
Really exciting stuff, yes. So, all right, let's move on to our other show. We shared with you a few weeks ago about a story that really saw no coverage in mainstream media around the country. And this was a school shooting that took place in Dixon, Illinois. Now, there's a reason why the mainstream media wasn't all that interested in it, is that the school shooter was actually immediately engaged by a school resource officer. And eventually the school shooter was actually shot by the resource officer. He then went to the hospital, recovered, went through the subsequent legal proceedings, etc. But stop here for just a moment. Police said that the 9mm semi-automatic rifle a former Dixon High School student allegedly used, apparently this was purchased by his mother 6 years prior. But he came to the school. If you would, Kyle, there's a short little video clip here by one of the local police officers that spoke.
Dixon High School in Illinois was evacuated Wednesday morning after gunfire rang out near the gymnasium.
It sounded like firecrackers, and we all kind of looked at each other like, what the heck?
Seniors were there practicing for their graduation ceremony when a teacher told them all to run.
It was complete chaos. I wasn't really looking behind me. I just took off running, and there were people pushing and shoving, screaming, trying to get out.
Police say the school resource officer, identified as Mark Dallas, confronted the gunman.
While pursuing the suspect shot several rounds towards the officer, at which time the officer returned fire and struck the suspect.
The male suspect, a 19-year-old former student, was taken into custody with non-life-threatening injuries. The officer is on paid administrative leave.
Because of his heroic actions, countless lives were saved. We are forever indebted to him for his service and his bravery.
Authorities searched the home of the alleged shooter. His mother says there are no guns in the house.
I know that he's been very sad for a long time.
There's no justification for what he's done, and he will take full responsibility for that.
No one else was injured during the incident. Kenneth Craig, CBS News.
All right, we're also going to roll a clip that you saw a little bit of the video from the police officer who reported on this. We want to show you the entire clip because he had some great things to share. So go ahead and roll that, Kyle.
Thank you. Again, as the mayor stated, my name is Steve Howell, Chief of Dixon Police Department. I'll try to be brief. This morning, May 16, 2018, at approximately 8:06 a.m., the Dixon Police Department received a report of an armed male subject in the Dixon High School. The information was put out by our school resource officer that is assigned to that school. Dixon Police, along with the Lee County Sheriff's Department, Illinois State Police, Sterling Police Department, responded to the scene. The preliminary investigation currently shows the suspect had fired several shots near the West Gym. At that point, he was confronted by the school resource officer. When confronted, the suspect exited the school and began running westbound on Armory Drive. The school resource officer pursued the suspect. While pursuing the suspect shot several rounds towards the officer, at which time the officer returned fire and struck the suspect. Shortly thereafter, the suspect was taken into custody just west of Dixon High School. The suspect was transported and is receiving medical attention. It is believed the injury to the suspect is non-life-threatening. At this time, the name of the suspect and the name of the officer are not being released. The officer will be placed on paid administrative leave per policy. The FBI, as well as the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, responded and assisted local law enforcement as well. The Dixon High School and all Dixon public schools initially were placed on lockdown. Currently, the Dixon High School remains the only school on lockdown. Due to the quick response of the Dixon High School school resource officer, as well as all assisting agencies, there were no injuries to staff, students, or any other community members. Furthermore, the Dixon Police Department, along with assistant agencies, believe there's no further threat to the safety of the students, staff, or community. The investigation is ongoing, and we are confident that the suspect acted alone. The suspect is a 19-year-old male and was previously a student at the Dixon High School. We would also like to add that the students and staff responded to the situation extremely well. The district has been receiving ongoing training from the Dixon Police Department how to respond to these situations. While removing students from the various classrooms, responding officers found the staff, students had barricaded the doors to the classrooms with desks, bookcases, and other objects per the training that they had been received. I could not be more proud of the police officer and the way he responded to the situation. With shots ringing out through the hallways of the school, he charged toward the suspect and confronted him head on. Because of his heroic actions, countless lives were saved. We are forever indebted to him for his service and his bravery.
All right, so that was the story and the coverage. You hear the police chief talking about how proud he was of the school resource officer. For the sheriff, Sheriff Scott Israel in Coward County in Florida, this is how you not only train people in the school, but this is the kind of resource officer you have at the school. I'll tell you what, anybody thinks about going to that Dixon, Illinois school, especially following this situation, and you see how rapidly this resource officer responded to this shooting situation, you hear the police chief says, took him head on. That's what an officer is supposed to do who's on duty there at the scene of the shooting. Now, so here's an important thing. Part of the reason that I wanted to cover this story is because there's another story that actually happened 2 days after this one, and neither one of these situations really received much coverage in mainstream media. And so this one is easy enough to figure out. This one's very easy to figure out. First of all, nobody was injured in the school. No staff, no students. The shooter is the only one who ends up being struck by a bullet, and rightfully so. He's shot by the school resource officer. Of course, mainstream media doesn't want to talk about this because it doesn't fit the conversation that they want to have in the news with regard to gun control laws and all that sort of thing. And of course, you wouldn't hear somebody like one of your favorite characters that showed up in the media sometime back, David Hogg, I believe his name was.
He sure is my favorite.
He sure is your favorite, yes. Yeah, so when you think of all these students and this character like David Hogg who showed up in the news following Broward County and the coward of the county, Scott Israel, all of their conversation, you notice CNN had a town hall to talk to all of these people. Now, they didn't allow students to come in and talk who didn't fit their message that they wanted to get out, and that became abundantly clear. Now, people were saying, you know, oh, that was all fake news, and no, that wasn't happening, and no, they weren't sorting out people who would have spoke against gun laws and actually were very pro Second Amendment people. No, they didn't sort any of those people out. That's what they said, okay? But then the shooting happens in Dixon, Illinois. And yes, this kid did get a chance to discharge his weapon in the school. Immediately when he was confronted by the resource officer, and as the police chief said, taken head on, he immediately flees the school and runs, fires some shots at the resource officer trying to hit him. Resource officer is a lot better shot. Tells me they're doing some training there. He's a lot better shot than this kid with a gun. And the resource officer shoots the kid. Now, why didn't CNN go to Dixon, Illinois, and have a town hall after the shooting and talk with all the people there about what should Congress do? Because you know what would come out of this? The obvious solutions would be is more schools should have resource officers. It would be the obvious conversation that would come out of that, right?
I think the people in CNN, I don't think they took like a math class. See, they see guns as a negative, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone knows two negatives make a positive, right? Mm-hmm. They obviously didn't go to math.
Yeah. Meaning, when the bad guy with a gun is there and a good guy with a gun immediately shows up, all of a sudden that becomes a positive situation like we saw in Dixon, Illinois, because the kid, the coward, runs and gets shot by the good guy.
Yeah, and people say, oh no, don't give him coverage because then they'll be famous, right? Well, that's for when things are successful, they get famous, right? Well, this kid's famous for He completely messed up a school shooting. He didn't shoot anybody, and he got shot himself.
Which is what if somebody's going to be a coward and show up to school with a gun, should get shot by the police, by the resource officer there.
So this kid is, he's famous, but he's a failure. Complete and utter failure.
Complete failure, and the resource officer is a complete success, and that's exactly how this is supposed to work. We didn't see 24/7 coverage on this school shooting, and we didn't see a CNN town hall. And we didn't see students like the David Hogg types stand up and start talking about this situation, whatever. Here's a little more information on it. Go ahead and bring this up on the screen as well. So here's the coward who did the shooting in Dixon, Illinois, and the one who fled immediately, the resource officer, the good guy with a gun, and got shot himself. So
now he did go on a shooting rampage because he was being heavily bullied. That is the issue here. He was heavily bullied, and that was his response to retaliate. That's what it said in the article. Just putting that out there.
So this is, to me, it's no excuse for this kind of behavior. However, you notice how these school shootings are either students who just recently graduated or students attending the school currently. Here's a message to kids in schools. You might want to think about picking on other kids and bullying other kids and whatever, because while this kind of reaction is by no means excusable at all, you push people far enough and you get idiots like this kid who no longer knows what to do, and he shows up at the school with a gun. Knock it off. Start treating each other like the decent human beings you ought to. And a message even for adults out in public. I watch on social media and even go to public meetings. You put anything today, you can take anything that's political and put it in any environment. It can be city councils, can be county commissioners meetings, it can be party meetings. It doesn't matter where it is. And then have political discussions online. And you will see the very worst possible behavior out of all these irresponsible adults, too. People just act absolutely stupid. And then for the dumbest reasons whatsoever, this kid also is being bullied in school.
Now, to all the parents out there, the mom did say recent bullying has left her son troubled. I don't know if she actually reached out to her son and said, hey, let's talk about these things and blah, 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 blah. I don't know if she actually talked out. But if you notice your kid, an utter change in, everything, they're not like the kid they're used to, talk to them. The worst thing that could happen is they say no. Talk to your kid. Man up and talk to your kid. Things like this could be avoided just by talking things out. Communication is the key to practically everything.
Wisdom from Kyle Torgerson. All right. So we have another story we want to share with you. This one you very likely missed as well, because while it got a little bit of coverage immediately during the event, this was May 18th, 2 days later. This was down in Santa Fe. There was a school shooting there as well. They did not have a resource officer there. This response was by local police and SWAT that showed up there. There were 10 people that died here, 9 of which I believe were students, and 1 was a teacher. And then it says 10 others were also injured. So this is a shooting that happened in Santa Fe, Texas on May 18th. Now, here's a very important thing. I was actually looking for the video footage on YouTube, on Facebook, on a number of different locations, trying to find the video footage that was actually shot and recorded by a number of the students at the school. Now, here's what the students say as to why this shooting received very minimal coverage, again, on mainstream media. In this case, there's casualties in the school. In this case, there's no school resource officer. This should have been a school shooting that every major network should have jumped on. You should have seen these town halls happening down here. You should have seen 24/7 coverage like they gave to the one that happened in Broward County back in February. We should have seen tons of coverage happening on this for several days following. But here's what happened. All the mainstream media showed up down there to Santa Fe, again with a anti-gun message that they were trying to pull out of these students. Well, the students in Santa Fe, Texas, are a lot different than the students over in Broward County in Florida. So, and there was no person even remotely like a David Hogg in Santa Fe High School. So what the media ran into was a bunch of kids that said the shooter is to blame for this situation, not the gun. In fact, one young female student got up and said, she said, you know, we don't blame the car when a drunk driver kills somebody. She just went and gave a bunch of really great examples. And she said as well that if you had, somebody came in there and planted bombs, we wouldn't be talking about anti-bomb, which in this particular situation, actually, there were bombs also. Yeah, besides the shooter, there were bombs planted in the school. And she said, you know, you don't hear any conversation about anti-bomb legislation either. Why would anybody have any conversation about anti-gun legislation following a shooting like this when we know, as evidence of the story we just showed you just prior, a good resource officer who does his job, responds immediately, saves lives, and puts this kind of nonsense to rest. Now, they didn't have a resource officer here in Santa Fe, and 10 people died. 9 students and a teacher died in the shooting. But again, no coverage in the mainstream media. Like you can go and search it and you'll find like a connection with MSNBC and CNN and a couple of the others. But you notice there's one story and then they're done. One and done and they're out. Why was there no town hall there? Why was there no continuing coverage going on of the school shooting in Santa Fe? Because the students would not give the major networks the interviews they were looking for. They wouldn't advocate for gun laws. In fact, they went on and said the responsibility all belongs to this kid. I'll tell you what, there is a difference in teaching in Santa Fe than there is in Broward County in Florida.
Now, it does say 2 other people are being questioned by police. According to Abbott, one person was at the scene, and the authorities are trying to figure out if the person may have had some involvement in the crime. Abbott said police are questioning another person who may have information about the crime. The shooter used a shotgun and a .38 revolver.
A .38 revolver and a shotgun. Both weapons that they say were owned by his father, who legally owned these firearms. And then it mentions explosive devices were reportedly found on campus and the surrounding areas, according to the Santa Fe School District Police. Officials warned community members to be on the alert. So, again, going back to these 2 stories. May 16th, May 18th. May 16th was the Dixon, Illinois. May 18th was the Santa Fe, Texas. Ask yourself why there wasn't significant attention around these 2 shootings in mainstream media. One, the obvious answer is the school resource officer takes the shooter out. There's no casualties in the school. They're not interested in that story. They don't want to highlight a story in which a school resource officer actually worked and saved lives. They don't want to do that. And then they go to Santa Fe, Texas 2 days later, and they leave because they can't find students that will share their story and feed into the anti-gun propaganda that you hear coming out of CNN and MSNBC and CBS and all these outfits like that. So I just wanted to share with people that when we talk about bias, when we talk about prejudice, when we talk about propaganda, when we talk about the mindless drivel that you see out of the progressive left that's in the media. And I don't, you notice that I don't use the word Democrats because there are a ton of great Democrats. In fact, the majority of people who would identify as being in the Democratic Party are what I call Truman Democrats. And they're people with great values, great morals, are very patriotic. They love this country. And unfortunately for them, their party has been hijacked by people out of this extreme progressive left, and they call themselves progressives and think of that as a good thing, but a lot of the nonsense that we see and even the bias that's happening in the news is happening as a result of these people that really don't want the truth of the news to get out there. And in all fairness to anybody who identifies with the Republican Party, there's those same factions in the Republican Party over on the extreme right. What's interesting is I was actually having a conversation with a local lady here not long ago, and she said the extreme right and the extreme left, like love and like hate, those two emotions are very close to each other. They're the extreme opposites of two different things. She said, you know, love and hate are actually two very strong emotions that are very close to each other. And the extreme progressive left of the Democratic Party and the extreme right of the Republican Party, these two people are very close as well. And that's why you see, even in Washington, D.C., you see people like a Paul Ryan and a Hillary Clinton making a deal. And why does that happen? Because they're two sheeps of the same flock with just a slightly different colored coat. That's pretty much what it amounts to. All right, Kyle, you got anything else on the agenda, the schedule here today?
Well, let's see. Y'all ever heard of Patreon? Well, we have a Patreon, guys, and if you like what we're doing, and we're actually like doing a show Monday through Friday now, which is exciting. We have a Patreon. You like what we're doing, you want to support us, this is an easy way to do it. You can donate $1 per show if you'd like, and that's a total of like $20.
$20 a month is what it comes out to, based on a 5-day a week show pattern, yes.
Or if you'd like, you could just do a one-time deal of whatever you want. You can donate $1, you can donate whatever. You just go on to Patreon, which I'll post the link in the description or, you know, in the comments. And all you got to do is you get this part, click become a patron, load it. And it's literally this easy. Custom pledge, donate $1, donate whatever you'd like. And it's that. We'll be adding tier systems later, or sometime soon. So things will be pretty cool.
Right, very good. So in some local news stuff, there is the Rustic Rebel coming up on Saturday. So for people that remember that, that's a annual event hosted by Connie Hagen and company. And really nice event last year. And hoping to see maybe another blot get added into the whole thing. So Rustic Rebel is coming up this Saturday in the Longview area. Tibbetts Mercantile is also celebrating their 1-year anniversary in business, so go give them a congratulations and stop by their deal. And coming up soon here in the Longview area as well, Squirrel Fest is coming up on the 18th. That is one of the best attended local events. It will be in the Longview City Center. Squirrel Fest on the 18th. Make sure you show up for that. You'll see us over there too.
You know, I lived on a commune in California for about a week or so, and I talked about Squirrel Fest, and they were quite confused why we have a festival around squirrels. But we do, and it's actually a pretty fun festival. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty great. So if you're in the area or around, come check it out. There's booths, there's music. Do you know what band's gonna be playing this year?
The Cherry Poppin' Daddies or something like that.
Cherry Poppin' Daddies. Oh man, they're such a good band. I think they're a funk band. I saw them live at a Littlehampton Jazz Festival my junior year. Those guys, they know how to. Whew, so good. They're good. Come check it out.
All right, Kyle says so. So you have to come check it out. All right, and then also tomorrow morning, which is going to be Thursday morning, tomorrow morning, will be the Longview Downtowners meeting. That's 8 a.m. at the Creekside Cafe on Commerce. So if you'd like to attend that meeting, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, show up at Creekside Cafe.
What else is going on Thursday?
What else is going on Thursday? We have a health show right here on NorthWest Digital News with our health contributor out of California, Jody Summers.
It's great. That's all I got. It's a great show. I've learned so much about nutrition. Michael Frericks, because Kevin says so.
Because Kevin says so. Yeah, you had a deal that you put up on the screen last week. I'm feeling bad now because I'm not seeing it. Where the heck is it? Because Kevin said so.
I either might have deleted it.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, there it is. Found it.
There we go. Because Kevin said so. All right.
Maybe we can get that on T-shirts and we can have that out of the tier system.
Yeah. You can get a T-shirt, Northwest Digital News T-shirt that says "Because Kevin said so." All right. Well, that's going to do it for our broadcast here on Northwest Digital News. Thanks to everybody who has joined us here on the stream. I'm Kevin Hunter with Kyle Torgeson. Until next time, take care.